Welcome to this presentation on the 3-Hour Authority, using the science of heuristic authority positioning to become a recognized expert in the digital attention span economy. Think about it. Your target audience is busy and you're busy, right? People don't have time to research the way that you think that they would be researching your product or services. And in fact, I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners and coaches and consultants, and they're just tired of feeling like they're invisible to their target audience. And let me ask you, are you tired of feeling like your target audience just doesn't hear what you have to say? And you've got a wonderful solution to the problems that they experience, right? But I understand it's a big struggle to grow your business. And let's face it, it's hard to keep up with what's effective these days in marketing because we have all those shiny objects that looks like the perfect solution to increasing your revenue. And I know you're tired of launching a marketing initiative only to hear crickets. Heck, the sound of crickets are really relaxing on a lazy summer evening, right? But not as a result of marketing and your revenue and your campaign that just launched, and now you hear nothing. So I'm Mike Saunders. I'm the author of the Amazon best-selling book, Authority Selling. I'm an adjunct marketing professor at several universities and a member of the Forbes Coaches Council. And my strategy is simple, and what we're going to cover in this workshop is helping you to break out of obscurity. And this is holding you back from prospects seeing you as the obvious choice. This strategy of authority positioning, using and understanding heuristics, which is decision making, it really works to pre-sell you before your target audience even connects with you for the first time. And as we work through the slides today in this workshop, I'm going to guide you through a massive shift in your mindset, a mindset shift that you're really going to start noticing. And it's going to allow you to quickly and easily become the hero to your clients and prospects and help them transform their lives. That's what we're going to cover today. And it's going to be super exciting. You're going to love this content. It's new, it's fresh. It's not something that you've heard before often. It's really going to be something that you love, because think about this. We live in a digital attention span economy. You know, you probably see the articles out there about, we have the attention span of a goldfish, or a goldfish has a better attention span than us, right? Like 8 minutes or 8 seconds, or it's just unbelievable what gets us distracted. And what it takes to stand out in the marketplace has changed dramatically over the last few years. So in 2000, look at that little stat. The average attention span was 12 seconds. Now it's 8.25 seconds as of 2015. That's a few years ago, but even if that's a little bit off, let's say that it's 9 or 10 seconds or 8, people don't have the time to pay attention to what we do. And even though the time to make decisions about our purchases has dramatically decreased, the decision process going into our brain hasn't changed that much. Right? Think about that. We all still make decisions. It's just that the time that we spend making decisions has gone down. And the decision process still involves our emotions and subconscious. And this is a proven fact from researchers, from psychology, and all of the how buyers make decisions. This is something that we know in the industry. Emotions and subconscious, and the way that we choose to buy, right? They're affected by things like the emotions and subconscious and the conscious mind, because the emotions and subconscious chooses what we want to buy, but the conscious mind looks for reasons to justify the decisions to buy. Think about this. Trust triggers. That's where trust triggers come into play. They've replaced the role of those experiences. Okay, you may have noticed that when you're on Netflix and you see things like that circled there, trending now, or popular on Netflix, you'll see the what's hot section in iTunes. So what does that mean? It means that this is the trending now is the hottest movies. The what's hot on iTunes is the most popular podcast. So on Amazon, you'll see customers who bought this item also bought. Okay, so what does that tell you? It says, oh, I bought this book, and, in this example there on the screen, the 10X rule was also bought by people who bought the book you did. So what is that telling us? It's helping us to make decisions. These are trust triggers, because maybe if I just saw this book, the 10X rule, I'd think, oh, okay, I don't know what it is, but it's a book. But if I bought a book similar to that, and now Amazon is telling me customers who bought this item also bought, now that's a trigger that is eliciting my trust. I already trust Amazon, but now I'm trusting this book because other people have also purchased the book. So you probably noticed these things, and now you're going to start noticing them a lot more. The trending now, the popular on, what's hot, things like that. Those are triggers. And it really becomes creating something called the bandwagon effect. And when we're seeking rational justification and our emotions and subconscious cannot provide any other logical reason to support a decision, the conscious mind often defaults to a place its trust in the crowd. Okay? So if we can't find some logical reason like, well, I bought this 10 other times, the conscious mind often defaults to placing its trust in the crowd. That's huge. That's social proof. The reason is I'm justified in my decision because it's what others with similar interests have done. So we can't just touch it and see it. The mind defaults to that bandwagon effect. If I can't hold it and go, oh, that's a good quality item. But now, if it is something that others have done that are like me, trust is being developed. Trust triggers give the conscious mind reasons to rationally justify emotional decisions. This is a really huge concept. This is how your buyers buy from you. So we have to understand this, because when you understand this, it's going to help you provide your products and services way easier than it was before. You don't need to sell, and push and deadline and scarcity. When you understand these things, how your target audience makes decisions to buy, your buying and your sales and your revenues will increase. So emotions and the subconscious also decide who we buy from. Our conscious minds look for reasons to justify that decision. We look at seller and product recommendations and reputation, right? That might be reviews or testimonials. We want to know if this person understands my problem. And, it doesn't need to say the words, I understand your problem because, but just in the way that their testimonies or their marketing messaging is set up, that target audience feels that you understand their problem. That's a huge piece. They do not care about you yet. They don't care about your story yet. They want to know that you understand them and that your solution is a viable solution for their problem. They want to know that you're qualified to solve their problem. These are the issues that our mind looks at to resolve when making a decision on who we buy from. So authority trust triggers provide that justification because people want to work with experts. Why am I going to waste my time on a newbie, right? Authority trust triggers position you as a recognized expert in your field and making it easy for the conscious mind to justify the decision to work with you, even if it costs more. So with authority trust triggers, you talking about you doesn't work, right? So you saying, hey, I'm the bomb is not going to work. Authority trust triggers are based on authority heuristic, enabling others to determine your expert status for themselves. This is a big thing. If you say you're an expert, it doesn't come off as impressive and effective as if others are saying it. So enabling others to determine your expert status for themselves is huge. Just like it doesn't work when the Uber driver comes up and says, hey, you could trust me, I'm a good driver, I'm not dangerous, you'll be safe with me. You're just telling people you're an expert doesn't work either. It sounds simple, but it's so important because that's what stands in the way so many times of our subconscious mind being able to provide the conscious mind reasons to justify our decision. Heuristics are unconscious ways that we process information more quickly than if we were to think about it consciously. The brain takes mental shortcuts to save time by thinking logically about things. There are many ways, they're called cognitive biases that our brains have developed during the history of mankind to manage information faster. And here's something super important. The vast majority of our daily decisions are taken up by heuristic decision making. Ultimately, by relying on experts or authorities, we're hitchhiking by means of their intelligence and we become very susceptible to influence. Now, why would that be? because it's a well-known fact that we often rely on experts or authorities' opinions instead of thinking for ourselves. We always look for the shortcut. So what do we want to do? We want to make it easy for others to call you an expert. Let's think about that for a second. We want to make it easy for others to call you the expert. So we're going to go through some more examples here to see how we can do this. And when you figure this out, and when you see how this unveils in this presentation, this workshop, you're going to really be excited because it's something easy to do. Authorities being an educator and an advocate. Let's just stop you right there. You are not in the business of selling and pushing and prodding and fitting that square peg in a round hole. Your focus must be becoming that educator and advocate for your target audience's success. We focus on the success of our prospects and customers. We empathize with our prospects and customers. We give value. We solve problems, and we deliver results. Now, guess what? All of this is wonderful, and I'm going to give you a little writer downer, a little assignment. Here's a book to get. It's called The Go-Giver by Bob Burg. And there's a follow-up book called The Go-Givers Sell More. And then his latest book is Go-Giver Influencer. All of these are quick, easy reads. They're written in story format, but it all is based on this exact mindset, which is being an educator and an advocate for the success of your target audience and providing value. So let's talk about the celebrity expert. You probably recognize at least one of them. Do they constantly call themselves an expert? Nope. Are they the smartest and best in their fields? Probably not. But are they recognized as educators and advocates for the success of others? Absolutely they are. The authority mindset is when we stop trying to convince people that we're the expert and focus on being a champion for our customers. When we do that, we make it easy for others to call us the expert. Okay, so let's pause there for just another second. We know we want to help others call us an expert, not us, right? Because when we say it, it falls on deaf ears. So when we stop trying to convince people that we're the expert and we focus on being a champion for our customers, that's the first greatest step in having this being accomplished. Because authorities don't have a job. They have a mission. And we have to define your mission. So when asked, what do you do? What is your answer? Translate that question to be, who do you help? Who is the person you have the most success helping? Who do you enjoy most helping? Who is the perfect prospect for you? What is it that you do to help them accomplish? What's the big outcome that they want to accomplish that you can help them with? And how do you help them get there, right? How do you help them get from point A to point B? How are you able to fill the gaps of where they are now to where they want to be? And then, why do you help them? What's behind your drive? What led you to do what you do and help the people you help? Maybe that's where the story comes in. And I know you hear so much about, what's your story and weaving in your personal story into your business presentation. And there's a time and place for that. It's just not at the very beginning. But when you are defining why you are helping people achieve what you help them achieve and what led you to do what you do, that's where this story comes in, and you're weaving it into what's in it for them. Years ago, I remember going to a Brian Tracy event and hearing him say, what's everyone's favorite radio station? And it's WIIFM. What's in it for me? So we have to remember that we need to explain what we do to help people using the what's in it for me mindset of they don't care about you until they understand how you are going to help them. So now you need to step into your authority. And this is where we've now set this stage, and this mindset shift is starting to happen where you are having others talk about your expertise and authority. And how are they doing that? By understanding that you are being their educator and advocate for their success. Now let's step into your authority. Let's take it to the next level. kind of an interesting quote by Oscar Wilde. There's only one thing in life worse than being talked about, and that's not being talked about at all. So let's give them something to talk about, right? We can do that by creating authority trust triggers with a method I call an authority positioning portfolio, or the Dave Ramsey effect. And if you take a look at of course, Dave Ramsey, the financial advisor, counselor, coach, got podcast and everything. Look at his book. Look at his bestseller rank. Look at his podcast. Look at his feature in magazine. Look at his, and that there's probably, 30 or 40 or 50 other types of places that he is all the time. Syndicated newspaper, syndicated radio show. Okay. These are authority trust triggers. And I mentioned the authority positioning portfolio. And this is just a screenshot of the Federal Patent Registration Trademark Office that I got for the phrase authority positioning portfolio. And here's what it is. It's all of your authority positioning assets that you can put together in one spot to show your target audience what you do for them. So think about it like a graphic designer, fashion designer, website designer. They're opening up their book of past customers and their designs going, hey, this clothing line that I just developed, look at this one and look at this one. Or, hey, look at this graphic I've done in the past. So it shows your target audience what you've done. An authority positioning portfolio is a portfolio of things that you have been recognized in doing and being positioned as that expert. And it might be actual physical papers, printouts, it might be digital, but the point is you need to be building this authority positioning portfolio of all of the ways that you are positioned as an expert in front of your target audience so that they see you as that influencer and that expert without you having to say it. So let's look at the Dave Ramsey effect, right? And other celebrities and entrepreneurs being a published author, being interviewed as a guest expert, hosting a radio show or a podcast. Those things instantly changes the mind's perception. And I think that you would agree that even without knowing who the person is or reading their book or listening to their show or interviews, authority recognition is assigned by the conscious mind because the strong association with celebrity experts. So when people see you out there, hey, you wrote a book. Hey, you were interviewed on a podcast. Hey, you were mentioned in the media. They may not read every word of that book or that media mention or listen to every syllable of every podcast interview you have been on, but the fact you are there establishes your authority position. So let's think about this. The speakers who give TED Talks, they're thought of as being credible experts and authorities in what they do. Correct? I think you'd be nodding your head about now. So if you go to the TED YouTube channel and you look at the homepage, chances are you won't recognize even a handful of the people on there. In fact, you may not recognize any of the people that are on there, but because of that third-party recognition, we still associate them with being an expert and authority. That's the authority positioning portfolio and authority trust triggers in action. Now, even when we go to Amazon and look at their bestseller list, you might not recognize all the names or authors of the books, right? But by default, our subconscious mind takes that trust trigger and gives our conscious mind a rational justification for considering that person as an expert. So your subconscious mind is processing. This person is a published author on the subject that I need help with, which allows the conscious mind to determine your expert status on its own. That's authority heuristics at work, and that's the power of authority trust triggers. So let's go back and think about the TED Talk again, right? We begin to recognize the purpose and intent behind these authority trust triggers in your authority positioning portfolio when we realize that TED Talks are timed precisely at 18 minutes. Now, why am I bringing TED Talks back up and 18 minutes and the small amount of time that seems to be? Because here's what I want you to really pause and understand right now. When I mention the word author, don't think you need to write, a 300-page manuscript. Don't think you need to have this 2-hour, signature talk ready. TED Talks are 18 minutes. And as we continue through these things, we're going to see that some of these authority positioning assets, like videos, interviews, talks, books, they don't need to be long. Look at this. TV and radio interview segments are typically 5 to 12 minutes long. That's easy. You can do that. Amazon has a bestseller list dedicated to books that only take 15 minutes to read. So I'm not making this up. Go to Amazon, right? So I want you to think about the fact that our subconscious mind influence our conscious mind to view people that are experts who have these types of things. Books, interviews, media, speeches. They don't have to be your life's work. Now you understand why your message should be bite-sized, results-driven, easy to consume, easy to share, and most importantly, easy to create. Now, what I want you to think about and keep in mind here, let's take a look at this, lead magnet. What does this really mean? Let's think about it in relation to writing a book. In relation to writing a book, I want you to think about why you would want someone to read a book that you wrote. And keeping in mind, it does not need to be a book where you have, written 400 pages. It needs to be one solution to one problem that your target audience faces. And when you can nail that one problem, I want you to think about something. Being able to really articulate clearly one solution to one problem, you have really brought home to that prospect a revelation in reality, and that you are the person to help them achieve that solution to their problem. Now, I would like you to think about this exercise. Think about your business, your product, or your service. Is it true that you could write down, probably really quickly right now, 10 frequently asked questions? 10. Okay? I'm sure that you've done enough business that you know that people have questions about your product or service. It becomes so easy to take, if you look at number 1 here, bite-sized pieces of content. So whatever authority positioning asset we're talking about, whether it's an interview, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a blog post for that matter, if you can take these bite-sized pieces of content and think of frequently asked question number 1, could you produce a piece of content on that? All of the nuances of this frequently asked question number 1, all the pros, the cons, and what happens if you don't address this? What are the outcomes if you do? What are the results? You can make a bite-sized piece of content on that one frequently asked question. And then what if you move to frequently asked question number 2? I think that I want you to keep that in mind as we continue through and finish up this workshop, because it is so powerful. William Shakespeare said, "Brevity is the soul of wit." And why is that important? Because remember on the previous point we were making, point number 1 on the previous slide, bite size. Okay, so brevity and bite size. So brevity plus recognition equals authority and profit in the digital attention span economy. Why are we bringing these 3 elements together? Because digital attention span. We now more than ever have limited attention. We have text messages, instant messages, all of these things coming at us, and we have been programmed to want solutions to our problem quickly. We Google it. We have a microwave. We have fast food. We have all of these things at our disposal that we don't want to wait 6 to 8 weeks for shipping, right? We want to order from Amazon and get it in 2 days or less. So brevity, this is so important. Brevity plus recognition, when you can cut through and display your authority, that is what helps you profit in this digital attention span economy, because people don't have the time to pay attention like you wish they would. Let's get back to some of these thoughts. Don't get overwhelmed with the thought of writing a book, for instance, or producing a podcast. I want you to think about this. The Art of War. You've probably heard of that before, right? It's like a well-known classic book of all time. It's a book written in the 5th century by the Chinese general Sun Tzu. He's considered one of the most brilliant military strategists and tacticians in history. Now, the strategies in the book have been applied in many world of business, law, finance, politics, and sports, and many executive CEOs and successful entrepreneurs consider it one of the most valuable books in their library. And The Art of War is only 64 pages. How about this? It's really about the art of less is more, right? When you think about it. So when you look at these very popular books from authors like Charles Dickens, Ernest Hemingway, George Orwell, The Science of Getting Rich, you've heard of many of these, right? Well, they all stand the test of time. They're considered classics. They also share something else in common. They're all less than 100 pages. They're considered classics and stand the test of time because people actually take the time and sit down and read them. That's a big point. Okay, I want you to consider something. You may have hesitated doing some type of authority positioning content marketing because you want it perfect or it's not enough content. People may not be reading those massive works, those long form, whatever pieces of content, right? But these are considered classics and stand the test of time because people actually read them. They're not intimidating. You don't have to invest a lot of time to get through these books, but they're tremendously rewarding when you do. So that's what we want to do with our digital attention span content. We want to create concise, results-driven authority lead magnets. Now, when I say lead magnets, let's pause and think about what that would look like for your business. I've got some covers of books here. This may just be a cover to a industry report that you put together. This may be a cover of your podcast that you start, because if you can talk to people on the telephone and interview people in contacts and prospects and strategic alliances, you can have a podcast. But when you start planning your content, it needs to be concise, results driven, and it needs to be a lead magnet, meaning it needs to be something that will encourage that reader or that person consuming your content to take the next step and reach out to you. That's the whole point. You don't want to have a piece of content like a book or a media mention or being interviewed on a podcast. You don't want that just to remain out there and be a nice little thing that someone says, oh, that was nice. You want it to do something. Now, I want to show you something really interesting. Look at this chart. Why am I saying that we want it to do something and bring you business? Because each of these authority positioning assets are business development tools. We've already talked about the heuristic authority positioning decision-making process, how people that see these things out there assume and confirm in their own mind that you're the expert and that person putting out that podcast episode or mentioned in the media, whatever the case is, right? That they are an expert. Well, sometimes when they are introduced to someone, they are out there Googling that person's name or their business. And this chart here is just a quick focus group study that was done with 357 people, and they were asked after you were had a company mentioned to you, so like 87% of the respondents searched online to find information on a company after they were referred to it by a friend or family member. Why is this so important? Because you could say, oh, I don't need online presence. I just need to be better referral, guru. I need to get referrals from my target audience. I'm going to build relationships. And that's true. But your authority positioning in the digital space needs to be there to back up your referral generating efforts. And this right here makes the point. And you've done it too. You've been referred to someone, and before you have their business card and reach out and schedule a meeting by phone or in person, you Google the person's name or the person's business. So people are doing that to you as well. You may have a networking group you go to. You may, be referred to clients from whatever source, from your clients, saying, hey, I'd like to introduce you to someone. This person does my, whatever business that you're in. Before they connect with you, they're Googling you, and you need to know what they see. Now, this would be the perfect spot to say, make sure you have wonderful reviews, and that's great, and that's important. That's called social proof. But I will submit to you that you need to have more than just your website, your LinkedIn, and your Facebook profile showing up. You may think, well, people are Googling me and my business and they see my website, my LinkedIn. They can look all through there, and that's great and that's wonderful, but they expect to see that. Your competitors will have that when they Google the competitor's name. What else past your website, your Facebook, and your LinkedIn profile can be there visibly, giving you more of that authority positioning and establishing you as that credible expert and bolstering and amplifying your influence? Let's take a look at something. Here's a slide just showing you of two examples of this. This is a client of mine, Henry Kaminsky, and he's a branding expert. So if you put in his name, Henry Kaminsky Branding, look at these, obviously, of course you would see his website and LinkedIn, but look at where these arrows are pointing. You're seeing interviews, you're seeing press release, you're seeing his book, you're seeing all of these things over and above just his website and his LinkedIn. Look at that thumbnail. You're seeing a video. Oh, it's an interview on his podcast interview. That right there is an attention grabber. Those are multiple first page positions on Google that are establishing and reinforcing his expertise and authority. And here's just another example. This is Jesse Miller, and these authority positioning assets at the time I took this screenshot were even positioned above his own website. Now, I'm sure that his website now is above that, but on the first page of Google, how would you like to have when someone Googles your name, your prospects are Googling your name and your business, how would you like them to see this level of authority positioning about you? Yes, your website, of course, but what about an interview on a podcast? What about a media mention, a press release? What about, a YouTube video so that people can learn and engage with you and your brand, hearing the interviews or seeing what other people are saying about you in a press release, or if you've, written a book. Now they're learning your methodology and your strategies by looking at your online presence. They're in their own mind thinking this person knows what they're talking about, and that's before they reach out and connect with you. And that is so important, because when they do reach out and connect with you, you want them to be pre-framed, pre-positioned in their mindset so that they are seeing you as a trusted advisor, not as just some salesperson. Now, this is the example of Google. I want you to think about something. Let's go back up to this slide here. Because we know that 87% of people will Google you, right? We know that that's an important piece. But what would happen if we have this authority positioning portfolio of assets that you've now been developing over the past few months, right? You've been getting on podcast shows. Maybe you started your own podcast. You were mentioned in the media, had some press releases. Maybe you wrote a book and had it published on Amazon. All of these things you're collecting in this portfolio, right? It's on your website. Well, now let's assume that someone gives you a call and says, hey, I was referred to you by so-and-so. They're a client of yours. Would love to connect with you and just see if you can help me with whatever you do. And you set up this appointment for next Thursday. What do you do between now and next Thursday? Well, most of the time, people just put it on their calendar and they just hope that next Thursday can't come soon enough so I can sell my product or service to this new prospect. Well, let me tell you what will dramatically increase the chance that that sale can get made. If you send them an email thanking them for their setting up the appointment for next Thursday and saying you really look forward to connecting with them and serving them and learning more about their business to see if you can help them with whatever solution. And then you go PS, or you say, before we connect, I would like you to take a look through a few of these links here to get a little bit of a feel for how I conduct my business and how I transform the lives of my clients. And this will give you a really great overview of my services so that a lot of your questions are answered before we connect. And then when we connect up at our meeting next Thursday, we can go deeper and really get a lot of work accomplished and just see where some of my solutions can help you out. And you put a link to this podcast that you were on. You put a link to where you were mentioned in the media. If you wrote a book, you put a link to your Amazon Kindle book listing, and they're going, wow. Before the meeting, they might have listened to that podcast. They might have glanced at this media mention. Maybe they bought your Kindle book. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they just saw that you are just out there and you're positioned as that credible expert and authority. So here's what I would like to say to you. What's the next step? After learning and understanding that your prospects and your target audience really do make decisions based on seeing experts and authorities and people they trust out there, you've got to be building this authority positioning portfolio. Now, there's a lot of ways to do that. You can go hire a PR agency and probably pay $1,000 to $3,000 a month to get you in some media. You can probably hire a ghostwriter, and for $25,000 to $30,000, you can have a book. You can hire a podcast producer, and for $5,000 to $10,000, have a podcast created for you. Those are things you can do, but I would like to just suggest that here's a DIY option. I wrote the book Authority Selling. You can pick up a free copy, just pay shipping at authoritysellingbook.com. So if you're ready to claim your authority and launch your brand in front of the people who need you the most, read this book. Because let me just tell you, going through this book gives you tips and techniques and strategies of many do-it-yourself options, many ways to accomplish what I've been talking about in this workshop today, to establish yourself as the authority without spending thousands and tens of thousands of dollars, doing it on your own. Many of them are free or low cost, but this is a wonderful playbook for you to be able to show you are the expert and to do this in a super powerful way. And with that, I would just like to show you the do-it-yourself option, how it can be so important for you. So go and visit authoritysellingbook.com. And remember, building your authority is your number one priority. So if you, like me, don't really have the time to learn, try to do things on your own and hope that you do it the right way, and it's really going to disrupt your day and take you away from your higher value activities, I'm going to show you a solution that you can have your authority optimized and really fast-tracked in 20 minutes on the phone. So this is just a few little steps here I want to show you. And I love the way that I put this here. How many authority positioning assets can you get from a 20-minute phone interview? So I've got a package called the Authority Boost. And it really is the quickest and easiest way to spend 20 minutes and have powerful authority positioning assets working to fast track your authority and influence. That's what it's all about, right? We've talked about this in this workshop. So asset number one, or step number one, is a phone interview. So you will get a full-length feature interview on my show, The Influential Entrepreneurs. It's on the Business Innovators Radio Network. Now, 20 minutes on the phone, easy, talking about your business. We'll walk through how you solve problems for your clients and everything about your business, really allowing you the ability to explain how you operate, how you work, and the solutions you provide for your clients. And you'll benefit this because you'll be able to use this powerful business interview link in your business development promotions to start your journey of building your authority positioning. Now, here's why that's powerful. Number one, it's an interview. It's not a sales pitch. And can you envision your target audience that has a certain question about your product or service, and you send them the link to your interview here, and you go, hey, you know what? It's a great question. I was recently interviewed on this podcast, and I covered that exact question. Here's the link. Listen to it real quick, and then let's connect up in the next couple of days and go a little bit deeper and see what other questions you have. Now they're listening to this interview because you're using it in your business development process, right? And they're hearing you talking and helping in your tone of voice and your voice inflections, and they're hearing you teach and educate and be interviewed from a curiosity standpoint. That's way more effective than just going, here's my flyer. Okay, so I'll craft interview questions to focus on telling your story, attracting your ideal prospects to your business. And this interview is syndicated to iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio. And here's something really cool too. It's converted to an MP4 file. It's syndicated to YouTube. And the SEO, the search engine optimization power of this syndication, is unbelievable. And guess what? I already showed you the results of a couple of clients that I've had, right? You saw that YouTube thumbnail. That was their interview. That was converted from a 20-minute phone interview on an MP3 that got out there, syndicated on Business Innovators Radio Network and iTunes and Stitcher and Spreaker, right? We also converted to MP4, and that shows up on Google when it gets indexed as a thumbnail, as a video. So that is so massive. A 20-minute phone interview is doing this, just talking about your business, showing your prospects how you solve their problems. And then the next step is a multimedia press release. So from that interview, you spent 20 minutes on the phone with me and you're done. You're off going back to your business. My team then gets this interview up to engineering, gets it syndicated out to all of these places, all the conversions, all the optimizations, and then my press release writing team goes and writes up a professional press release announcing that you were interviewed on the Business Innovators Radio Network. Send it to you for approval. But when that press release is syndicated, you are then having another set of authority positioning assets being built for you because it's syndicated to dozens of news affiliates, NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox News media websites, and being mentioned in the media is a powerful third-party social proof. We talked about that, right? Well, if you Google your name and your brand, your business name, what if in a few weeks or months, Google indexes one of those press releases? Now your prospects are seeing, just like in the images I showed you a few minutes ago, they're seeing you mentioned all over the place in the media, on a business podcast. You see your video, they're hearing your voice, right? So having these assets being built for you, from the interview audio to the interview video to the press release and the syndication there, and being able to use screenshots of each of these on your website, or maybe you build a page called in the news and you put this in there. You use it in your business process. This is a powerful package that is delivering multiple authority positioning assets, building your authority positioning portfolio with one 20-minute phone call. Now, there's a option if you wanted to also have this feature. Your interview can be featured in the next edition of our Amazon best-selling book series, Expert Profiles, Conversations with Influencers and Innovators. Now listen, you now have spent 20 minutes on the telephone. That's not a lot of time. You've got an authority positioning asset built for you, approved by you, because you got the press release and you tweaked a word here and there and whatnot, right? And now, what if the next step is you say, yeah, you know what? That interview turned out excellent because we talked about all the 30,000 foot ways that I help my, clients. Great tone and great flow of the interview. Why don't we take that interview text and feature you in this book? You have your picture on the front cover. We have a custom upgrade where you can get your picture on the front cover and your name on the front cover. Now you're in there with a couple dozen, maybe 5 to 10, 12 different experts across the country in a variety of industries, but maybe yours is chapter 1 with your picture on the cover and your name on the cover, and you can order these at a wholesale price and hand out to your friends, family, prospects, networks, strategic alliances, and go, hey, I was recently featured in this book, Expert Profiles. Here's my card stuck in here. Here's a copy of this. Hey, give me a call. Let's chat next week. Now, you're talking about a way to really impress your target audience. Now, this is not your own book, fully about you, no one else. So, the price point is a lot lower than what you see out there of $20,000 and $30,000 to get a book ghostwritten for you. So, I just want you to realize that you can have all this done with one 20-minute phone interview. But rather than just saying, here you go, I give you one final huge, massive benefit. One-on-one coaching and training on my proprietary authority selling system. So this is really, really big because, like I was saying here, typically Google indexes 1 to 2 links of your press release announcing your book that's featured, your book, where you were featured in the Expert Profiles. Okay. Those links of the press release, those links of the interview, the link about the book feature. But how do you use those? Okay. So I'm going to set up a phone session with you, 45 minutes. You'll be able to learn, and I'm going to send you a guide, a marketing strategy guide, but I'm going to walk you through, now that all of these things are done for you, how you can use these easily, quickly integrated into your practice, your business development. With what? One 20-minute phone interview. So if this sounds interesting to you to fast track your authority, typically this retails for $12.95, and today it's $9.95. If you visit authoritypositioningcoach.com, you can send me a message, set up a time to speak, and I will honor this discount, this large discount, because on my website you will see that it is $12.95, but I want you to get it today for $9.95. Just shoot me an email, mike@marketinghuddle.com, or visit my website, authoritypositioningcoach.com, and click on the contact tab. Let's talk through this. I'm certain you're not going to watch this presentation and send me $9.95 with a credit card. We want to set up a time to talk through it, to make sure that it fits for your business development and make sure your questions are answered. But I want you to realize that I am going to give you a $995 package, which is a large discount from the retail price of $12.95. And I encourage you, take advantage of what you've learned in this workshop, whether it's just the do-it-yourself option of buying my book, Authority Selling. You can go to my website here and you can download the blueprint. I've got a large amount of downloadable resources that you can learn from and teach yourself how to do these things. But if you want to fast track your authority, I'd encourage you to take advantage of this authority positioning boost today. And I look forward to working with you in the future. And remember, building your authority is your number one priority. Make it a great day.